I call it Liberation Day. April 2nd is Liberation Day. For the most part, April 2nd will be a big day. That'll be Reciprocal Day. And we'll be bringing some of the money back that's been taken from us. Let's be nice by using the word taken. I don't want to use a stronger word because these guys are professional politicians and they don't like to hear those words. I refuse to use the word stolen from us. But
that's Donald Trump right there, and he's going to continue along those lines at 4 p.m. today. We're expecting him to speak from the Rose Garden. CJAD 800 will have live coverage of Donald Trump talking Liberation Day later today. Let's bring Tasha Kheiriddin into this conversation, writer and commentator for the National Post, and of course her wonderful Substack. Hi, Tasha. Welcome back to the show.
Hey, how are you, Elias?
Oh, I'm doing okay. How are you viewing quote-unquote Liberation Day?
I felt liberated before. I don't need to be liberated. And America, I don't think, needs to be liberated either. But, no, I think 4 o'clock. Last I heard, it's 4 o'clock today. We'll see. That could change, too. So.
What should the Canadian response be? You have Pierre Poilievre this morning, just moments ago, wrapping up there. He's got his, he had a press event saying how he would respond. Mark Carney has paused his campaign. He's in Ottawa. He's preparing a response probably today and into tomorrow morning. What's the response? What should it be?
Well, I think the response is kind of twofold. One is reciprocal tariffs that we have planned to put on millions of dollars of other goods, and we said we would do that when the full brunt of tariffs was known. And I think also other measures that he can announce include, and they sort of allude to this, preventing American companies from buying us out if our dollar starts dropping, preventing that sort of predatory, I guess, engagement with Canadian companies. He could announce maybe a speeding up of the internal trade stuff that we're supposed to do. He said July 1st, we're going to have no barriers. There's no reason it should take that long. And other things he can also say is in terms of any, proactive moves on renegotiating CUSMA with the U.S., because Trump said he would meet him after the election to do that. Like, we're going to start renegotiating. It's very confusing, quite honestly. Mm-hmm. But, there's a number of things that if he has things to say, he can say. I think that he's probably just going to say we're doing reciprocal tariffs. And he's going to announce support for workers like that. That's the piece that, EI was already changed. But they can't do major money stuff until they come back, until Parliament's back. So he'd have to have Parliament return to pass bills. There are ways. It's kind of tricky, though. It's not clear if you can give out major financial relief when Parliament is not sitting. The other parties have asked for that. I think the NDP said, why don't you get all the leaders together to have a concerted response? I think I wrote about this 3 weeks ago and got slammed for it. So maybe it'll happen. Who knows?
Well, I'd understand the criticism just because we're in an election campaign and we're going to pick, right? And I think this election has come down to who's best to respond to Trump. And so I understand, well, let's just pick, so everyone present your plans and then we'll pick one. I guess that's where Canadians are.
Well, that's where they are. It's also, I think, a personality thing of who they think will be able to carry through, because that's what, a lot of these discussions fall on relationships. And we know that Trudeau had a terrible relationship, the Trump calling him governor and being insulting, and at least he called Carney a prime minister. That is good. That's a good start. But he seems to have prejudged the election and said, well, I'll meet you afterwards. So right now, I don't think that was well received by the Conservatives. And I understand why, because it is like prejudging. And the polls are what they are right now. It definitely would be a Liberal government. But the election's not over. Like you said, everyone's got the right to put their plan forward for consideration.
Tasha, did you see there's a op-ed in the Globe and Mail published today? The headline is, Canada, be prepared for hardships not seen in generations. And,
oh, God. I don't subscribe to the Globe. I did not see that disturbing headline
But that's the vibe, right? And I mean, this, the piece is really about how the last 10 years we've set ourselves up for this. The GDP per capita gap now, 44,000 U.S. in Canada, 66,000 U.S. in the United States. So it's like we're already in a bad position here. But I also don't like that vibe. Like, my goodness, be prepared for the generational hardship. But I think a lot of people are feeling it.
Well, I think certain people will. Like, this is the thing. It's going to be like COVID, the pain is not going to be evenly spread. If you're in an industry like auto, which is going to be majorly impacted, you will feel severe pain. You'll probably be out of work. Like, that is terrible. And there's no way to fix that. There's no way to how do you restart that? I don't know what folks are going to do. I mean, that is very, very bad. Other industries as well, forestry, resources, aluminum, steel, like all these industries are going to be whacked. And those workers are seriously going to suffer. It's going to be very, very bad. There's going to be the ricochet effect on other things too, including retail, because people won't have a consumer power and they won't be spending. So, people will be laid off from those jobs because no one will be in the stores and no one will be eating out and shades of pandemic all over again. But I got to say this, unfortunately, there are people who are making bank on this. Consultants, lawyers, anyone who's in the advice business, people want to know what to do. They're not going to suffer. So again, it's very, very negative because it creates this, we're all in it together, but we're not, right? So it'll be up. It's up to the people who are, not suffering to help those who aren't, because otherwise we're going to just increase this class divide, and that's what's made our politics, quite frankly, so toxic in this country.
Why can't we just, and I threw this out this morning with our Big Five panelists, and why can't we just give the United States, especially at a time like now, like who's going to want to bank at a U.S. bank in this country? Who's going to want to give their money to a U.S. telecom? Now's the time to say, sure, America, you want access to our markets if that's your bone to pick, and if you want us to drop a 300% tariff on dairy, well, good luck trying to sell your U.S. product in Canada right now. Why not nip it in the bud by giving them something?
Well, give them what? Would we give them Elias? I mean,
those things outline. Well, you want your banks to have access here. Okay, fine. Good luck. Because I'm thinking good luck to these American companies right now. Good luck trying to convince Canadians to buy from them.
Are you canceling Netflix? Are you still using Facebook? Are you still using this is the problem. Is there's things people aren't going to give up.
I would not leave RBC or Scotiabank or Wealthsimple, you name it, for Citibank or Bank of America. Would never happen.
Yeah, I don't think that's really, you know what? The whole banking thing is a bit of a red herring because, U.S. banks do operate in Canada. We operate in the States. The banking market here for the U.S. banks, how much are they going to really make? It's we're 40 million people. It's not. Trump says a lot of stuff that he wants. And really what he wants is security for the U.S. And this is more and more. I've talked to people, who are close to the administration, who are in Washington, who're saying that, the whole Canadian conversation, you're having a conversation about one thing. Here, their focus is they think Canada's a security liability. It's not even about the tariffs and the money and this and that. Trump is annoyed by that, but it's really about they feel that Canada is a liability for the U.S. because we have been not protecting our borders. We've allowed people in. It's not even about fentanyl as much as it is about people. It's about money laundering. It's about a bunch of stuff.
Well, you know what? They should talk about it then. You know what I mean? They should start talking about that if that's what it's really about.
Well, it is what it's about, but the administration isn't saying. The administration is saying things that resonate with the American people, i.e. they're killing our people and they're taking advantage of our money. That's what people understand. The average American isn't going to sit there and worry about the Arctic, right? But they're going to worry about money, and they're going to worry about those things. So Trump is selling this on the basis that his voters and the American public will accept. But the backstory is Canada is infiltrated by foreign powers, i.e. China. Russia and China both have their, submarines floating around the Arctic looking for trouble. China is getting 5 more icebreakers up there. Great, as the ice breaks up naturally, but they're going to break it up more. They're going to go in there. So that's what they're worried about.
Well, Tasha, I'll point out one thing. Your latest piece in the National Post points out Canada's weakness against China and how big of a deal that is. Tasha, listen, I have to wrap. Earlier today, we were talking about the not one, not two, but 3 conservative candidates that got the boot yesterday. We were having a discussion about the poor roster that the Conservatives have in some respects, and I threw it at our panelists. Here's what our panelists said this morning about who the Conservatives should have as candidates.
Foreign Affairs Minister Stephen Harper. If he says Stephen Harper is going to be appointed our Foreign Affairs Minister, imagine the credibility that would add to your campaign. Jason Kenney, Tasha Kheiriddin, I can go on and on. He needs some help.
Tasha Kheiriddin, I could see.
Tasha Kheiriddin, let's record that because Tasha Kheiriddin is going to be on the show at 10:50 today. So stay tuned for that.
Tasha. Cool.
So Tasha, what do you say on that?
Well, no one's calling me, so.
That's a shame. If no one's calling her, I guess we'll just have to read her. Tasha Kheiriddin, read her in the National Post and on her Substack. Be well, Tasha.
Thanks.
That's
Bye.
Tasha Kheiriddin right there.